passenger train derailed in their city. The report on how it happened is a secret, even from city leaders. The race to fix ballot issues in Colorado's closest congressional race. Neither side wants to accidentally help a voter from the other side. A group of Democrats at the state capitol signaled that they're going ahead with gun violence bills, with or without every Democrat up there. And if a huge supermarket merger leads to grocery store closures, it can make a bad problem worse for some neighborhoods.
We're going to all have to come together and find a way to continue to get access to this food.
And as former President Trump prepares to announce tonight he's running again, my thoughts on Colorado Republicans blaming their blowout losses on this Florida man. Tonight on Next. 2 months after an RTD light rail train derailed in Aurora, service still is not back up and running. RTD has not been transparent about that investigation in the crash. Not to you, not to us, not to the city of Aurora. Our Marshall Zellinger found RTD is protected by a curious state law.
The investigative report is complete, describing what's known about this light rail derailment from September in Aurora at Sable and Exposition. It's complete, we're just not allowed to see it.
I knew that it was underway, but did not know it was finished.
I'm glad that there's a report. We all deserve to see it.
Aurora City Council members Juan Marcano on the left and Dustin Zvonek on the right rarely agree.
Open, transparent government is something that he and I are always going to see eye to eye on.
This isn't a national security matter.
But they both believe the investigative report that is complete should be made public. We have requested it, and we were denied. Aurora police asked for it, too, and got the same denial. RTD must withhold and treat all information compiled in connection with the investigation of a light rail vehicle accident as confidential. The Public Utilities Commission has oversight of light rail safety, and RTD submits the investigative report confidentially to the PUC, which can decide if it becomes public.
It seems like this type of report should be readily available. In fact, it should be online and not something that we have to request. This is a change that I think that our state legislature should make.
Even though the investigation is complete, RTD has not resumed service here. No light rail trains go between Florida and 13th Avenue. And last month, RTD stopped running bus shuttles to get people from one end of the closure to the other.
Folks who are impacted daily by this service outage have a right to know. Policymakers who serve the impacted jurisdictions have a right to know.
And this is the second derailment in the same area. In 2019, a light rail operator driving 38 in a 10-mile-per-hour zone caused a derailment that tossed a woman out of the car and severed her leg. The corrective report was submitted to the PUC and eventually made public, if you know where to find it, on a not easy to navigate PUC website.
Unless there's some sort of safety concerns that the PUC can point to, which I can't imagine that that's the case, I don't know why this wouldn't be made public.
Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman also wants the report public. In a statement, he emailed me saying, "I see absolutely no reason why this information should be withheld from the public. I strongly urge our state legislatures to change the law. As taxpayers, we have a right to know."
2 trains off the track, same spot. They should hand a copy of the report to every person who gets on the train when it starts running again. Is this one of those situations where they can't release it or they won't release it?
I think it's language of the law. Shall versus may. I forget which one is more strict, but they give it to the PUC, and the commissioners could meet or call for a meeting or at the next meeting be like, we want this out there on the immediately. I don't think that happened last time with the report, and it eventually the corrective action report came out. I don't know if that's the same as the investigative report, but it's up to those 3 PUC commissioners, same people that oversee phones and Excel and energy, also oversee rail.
Well, now there's some attention on it. Marshall, thank you. Democratic congressional candidate Adam Frisch is literally telling people to stop hitting refresh on the election results in his race against Republican Lauren Boebert. He told people that directly today. This is the second straight day that the vote total did not change. The work is being done behind the scenes right now. Boebert leads that race by 1,022 votes. County clerks are still able to accept any military or overseas ballots trickling in. The real race, post-election day, is the race to fix ballots that have not yet been counted because they have signature issues. 2 largest counties in the district, Mesa and Pueblo, combined, they have 1,166 of those ballots. They can only count them if they're fixed by midnight tomorrow. So campaigns and volunteers are scrambling to go to the voters that they think are on their side. Democratic Pueblo County Clerk Bo Ortiz says his office has heard from some of those voters.
As soon as they call them, they're asking them, how did you vote? Did you vote for Boebert or did you vote for Frisch? And a lot of people in our county don't feel comfortable telling anybody, not even their family, how they voted.
We've watched how this partisan curing process works in the past and the sketchy but completely legal way that it tends to play out on the ground. Take the 2019 mayor's race in Aurora. You had the conservative Mike Kaufman, who was narrowly leading the progressive Omar Montgomery. A doorbell camera caught a volunteer going out for Montgomery who showed no interest in fixing a voter's ballot because they sided with Kaufman.
Hi, Jeffrey. My name is Kathy. I'm with the Omar Montgomery campaign, and there was a problem with your ballot. Are you an Omar supporter?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
And she's out. No interest in curing that ballot. Come on, don't doubt that kind of thing is happening in the 3rd Congressional District right now. And again, nothing illegal about doing it like that. And county clerks are supposed to notify all the voters with rejected signatures, so if the voter proactively wants to fix it, they can do that if they choose. Right now, Democrats have won unprecedented control at our state legislature, 69 of 100 seats, and some Democrats are already laying down markers of what they plan to accomplish next year, even if a few in their own party are not on board. 22 Democratic state legislators today announced a gun violence prevention caucus. This is largely a symbolic move, but what it means is that it's making clear that they plan to move as a group on that issue of gun control, whether or not any Republicans are on board, and even if some Democrats are not prepared to vote for their proposals.
We are enjoying our largest historic majority, which is both a call to action and an obligation to the people of Colorado to really fulfill our campaign promises. And so, as I said, most of us ran on this issue, or a lot of us, particularly the folks in the Gun Violence Prevention Caucus, ran on this issue as being central and important to us. So we're trying to fulfill that promise that we feel the voters have given us this opportunity to fulfill.
Day one of the caucus, they're not listing specific policy goals. But Democratic State Senator Rhonda Fields mentioned closing background check loopholes as a possibility and raising the age to purchase a so-called assault rifle.
We need to make sure that there's protocols in place to make sure that the age is appropriate for someone to be able to have a rifle that's capable of the kind of ammunition that has this rapid fire where you can, really murder and kill people at a high rate in minutes.
Again, there are no Republican members in this gun violence prevention caucus. The Democratic leaders of the caucus said that they would welcome bipartisan solutions on the issue, but they noted with the legislature split the way it is now, bipartisanship at the Capitol is no longer a requirement. Former President Donald Trump will speak tonight at 7 o'clock. NBC News reports that Trump will announce that he is running again in 2024. Colorado's Republican leaders are faced with a choice after their blowout losses in what should have been a favorable year. They can choose to accept responsibility or blame someone else. Week out from Election Day, blame is the popular choice, blaming specifically former President Donald Trump in particular. You'll hear Republican leaders and strategists say that the reason that Colorado Republicans got wiped out is because voters here wanted to punish the party of Trump. That certainly appears to be part of the equation. But Colorado Republicans throwing Trump under the campaign bus allows them to then ignore whether their own candidates, their own positions, also contributed to the atomic wedgie voters gave them on Election Day. Senate candidate Joe O'Dea did everything he could to diss and distance himself from Trump. And would that get O'Dea a smaller percentage of the vote than Trump got here in 2020? Gubernatorial candidate Heidi Ganahl openly flirted with Trump's big lie, and she may end up losing by 20% when the final votes are counted. Voters clearly didn't think Ganahl was the cat's meow either. Colorado's Republican leaders are not disavowing Trump now for any of his actions or for the insurrection or for the big lie. They're only ditching him at this point because it's clear that Trump is not helping Republicans win at the moment. Blaming Trump for what is likely a far more complex issue with the Colorado Republican Party these days sets the GOP up for a surprise rooter than the former president himself.
Nowhere in America would feel the impact of a Safeway-King Soopers merger like Colorado.
This merger goes through, you will see physical store eliminations, just as a matter of how these deals work.
And this state's unique way of doing taxes and budgets means the governor's plans got changed by your election night decisions. He says it won't result in program cuts. Yet. That's next.
There are spots in Colorado where people have to go long distances for a grocery store. If King Soopers and Safeway merge as proposed, store closures are not out of the question. That could make it even harder for some Coloradans to get fresh food. Our Luis De Leon takes a closer look.
This is a map of Metro Denver,
The pieces of tape on the map are the areas that Denver Food Rescue focus on,
all up here in the inverted L.
where Executive Director Letitia Steele says many of Denver's food deserts exist. Denver's Human Services Index shows 89% of people living in, say, Elyria-Swansea are not within a 10-minute walk to a grocery store. That number is 93% in Globeville, and in Clayton, where Denver Food Rescue's main office is, it's 100%.
And it makes me very concerned for the future of equitable food access.
Concern that some stores could close if the merger between Kroger and Albertsons goes through. University of Denver Supply Chain Program Director Jack Buffington says that's likely to happen.
Just as a matter of how these deals work.
There's a lot of factors, though, that could go into it, like cutting costs on labor.
If there's an Albertsons and a King Soopers right across the street, then you got twice the number of people that you don't have to pay as much money.
But online services, he says, may prove to be a bigger factor.
The impetus of this merger has everything to do with the e-commerce market, which is becoming a larger part of the whole marketplace relative to grocery stores.
And to that end, he believes Kroger will try to keep up with other companies like Walmart and Amazon.
So if they have 2 stores and they make a certain profit margin on 2 stores, and they can make a higher profit margin on 1 store, then that makes a lot more sense where they can deploy their capital for e-commerce.
Something he acknowledges could come down onto food deserts, and something Steele hopes does not happen.
I'm hopeful that the attention that is being placed on this merger is also going to continue shining that light on the need for equitable food access.
Now, it is still unclear if and how many stores could consolidate or close because of such a merger. Both companies, of course, told me that they believe this will actually help supply chain reach more customers and invest in lower prices. Kyle, this proposed merger has also already received union opposition, and Attorney General Phil Weiser, who's been outspoken on this before, told me today that they're currently in the process of forming a team to analyze the merger and take action if needed.
But that's how these antitrust, these merger things work. Everybody piles in ahead of time to talk about what they think might happen so that regulators either approve or say no to this idea. And the opponents are saying, we've seen a food supply that's been stretched and strained through the pandemic, and they worry it could get worse.
Right. So Steele, their organization, partners with 21 different partners across the entire city. Demand is ever increasing for them right now. So we'll have to see how this plays out.
Luis, thank you.
Well, we're spending this evening drying out after last night's overnight and into early this morning's snowfall, where trace amounts were reported at DIA, but we did see some areas around the Denver metro reporting 3 to 4 inches of snowfall as we went into this morning. Of course, we did get some afternoon sunshine. That didn't do too much to warm us up. Right now, we're at 32 degrees at DIA. Calm winds right now, actually letting it feel like 32 degrees. Now, most of the eastern half of the country is still seeing these temperatures in the lower 30s. A little cooler right now in Colorado Springs, 28 degrees there, and we're seeing 34 to the southeast in Lamar and in Springfield. The high country's in the teens and 20s, 36 degrees out west in Grand Junction. Taking a look at our HD Doppler radar, we have a very large low pressure system off to the northwest here, making its way through Michigan, and we're going to continue to watch the effects of that swoop its way down into Colorado. So that's where we saw last night's overnight snowfall that led into this morning, but everything as it pushes its way further south is going to continue to dry up as we have drier air pushing down from the north. Now, that dry air is going to continue to be pretty chilly, where we have these overnight lows near 16 degrees expected tonight. We will see calm winds, so that won't do too much for that wind chill effect, but we will enjoy mostly clear skies tonight. We have a very cold 7-day forecast ahead. Every day still below average. Our average high this time of year is in the lower to mid 50s. We'll start to catch up to that by mid next week, but over the next couple of days, we're getting colder and colder. We'll see those highs in the low 40s tomorrow, but Thursday's our next snow chance, where we could see even more snow, maybe around 1 to 3 inches here in Denver. Those higher totals off to the west and south around the Palmer Divide, but we will see those highs dropping into the 20s, so we'll be in the upper 20s Thursday. As we make our way into Friday, that sunshine returns, but cold weather pushes in with those those highs maxing out in only the mid-20s. So we'll stay below freezing all day Thursday and Friday. As we make our way into the weekend, we continue to see a lot of sunshine and those temperatures slowly creeping back up. We're in the lower 40s Saturday, mid-40s Sunday. And by the time we start the next work week, we'll see those highs in the upper 40s to low 50s.
The governor had to draft his budget before you all decide whether to cut state revenue. You did. So now let's look at what that means for schools and roads and all the other stuff the state spends on. And the most Colorado thing we saw today is working smarter, not harder. Next.
We finally found someone who isn't running for mayor of Denver. 15 candidates have piled into the race, but today, potential contender Penfield Tate opted for the at-large city council seat instead. The former state senator had said here a couple weeks back he was considering a second run for mayor. But Tate has filed today to be at-large and in charge instead. There are 11 candidates in that at-large city council race so far. Both of the at-large seats are open this year, next year I should say, due to term limits, so voters will pick two from among the choices. So imagine planning a family budget before you know if your boss is going to give you a pay raise or a pay cut. That's what every governor has to do just before Election Day in Colorado, the day when voters often have tax increases or tax cuts on the ballot. This year, Democratic Governor Jared Polis proposed spending increases right before voters approved reductions in state revenue. Proposition 121 will lower the state income tax, and Proposition 123 will require that 0.1% of the income tax revenue be spent on affordable housing. The governor went in front of the legislature's Joint Budget Committee today, and he was asked the most obvious question. Does this put us in a squeeze now? The governor said we are good for the moment. Colorado's running a surplus, but it could be a problem down the line.
The only scenario they would, which is not directly contemplated in this, is if there is a severe recession and we are below the Tabor cap. But unless that occurs, neither of those would affect us.
So right now, the tax measures just passed will reduce our tax refunds by a bit. In years with a surplus or without a surplus, that can mean cuts to education, healthcare, human services. I have some questions about the most Colorado thing we saw today. I bet you'll have answers. And you have lots to say in your daily feedback. Next. Somebody who thinks he's outsmarted raking leaves is the most Colorado thing we saw today. Ann in Berthoud sent us this photo of her neighbor busting out the shop vac to suck up the leaves. Does this work? Like, will they actually compact down in the shop vac container enough to be useful? I have serious doubts about the utility of this approach, but hey, points for creativity. If you see something that says Colorado to you, share it with the whole state by emailing next@9news.com or using the hashtag HeyNext. As campaigns furiously try to cure or fix ballots with signature issues in Colorado's 3rd Congressional District, Bill asked tonight, what's the criteria for rejecting a signature on a ballot? Years ago, I decided to change the way I sign my name. Would that trigger a signature rejection? Absolutely it would. The state looks at the last signature it has from you and compares them. You can change it, but expect to explain it the first time around. Lori says, I wish I lived in Colorado just to get your news. Where are you keeping up with us, Lori? We put full episodes on YouTube. You can see them streaming on 9news.com. You can always find us on social media. Thank you for being a part of the conversation anyway. I'll see you next time.